Good evening and welcome to Master Debating, the show where the only thing growing is your disdain for civil discussion. And let's ignore the discussion for a second and think about the law. From Johnny Cochran to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, lawyers are the lifeblood of the judicial system. So to emphasize the essential courtroom workers, we debate who is the greatest fictional lawyer of all time. To discuss these attorneys at law, we brought on 4 guests to highlight the most influential fictitious counselors. Starting things off is Emma Lenhard with Elle Woods of Legally Blonde fame. Emma, do you think someone needs to look great in dark blue to be a lawyer?
I think that's very important. You know, looks are almost everything. You know, some lawyers are very superficial, and I think it's important to dress your best when presenting a case.
All right, well, next up is Sydney Watson, who chose Slippin' Jimmy himself, Saul Goodman, from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Sydney, if you were caught up running an illegal drop-off burner phone plan, would you call Saul?
Oh, I would probably think to myself, I better call Saul. This is a very needed situation for that, for sure. Definitely.
All right, and our third debater today is Parker Feldman, who's talking about Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird. Parker, would you save Boo Ratley?
Of course I would, Anthony, because he's a stand-up individual just like Atticus Finch, and I think moral character is the backbone to being a lawyer in today's society.
Well, you're going to have a strong time debating that one. And our fourth debater today, Melanie Heim, coming in with Vincent Gambini from My Cousin Vinny. Melanie, do you think Gambini would have been able to stop the prosecution of the Wet Bandits?
You know what? I think he would have. I think he's the best lawyer out there, and I'm going to argue that case today.
All right, well, let's start things off. And Parker, yours is from a book. What makes Atticus Finch better than all of these that are from film and TV?
Well, I'd correct you, Anthony, because To Kill a Mockingbird was also adapted to film, starring Gregory Peck as the lawyer himself, Atticus Finch. And frankly, we talk about the diversity in terms of performance in the courtroom and the way that people interact with who Atticus Finch is as a lawyer. For me, I was really, really impressed with somebody that has stood the test of time. I mean, he's still being read in classrooms to this day. People are analyzing his work. I mean, just phenomenal for somebody that really could have gotten lost in the shuffle.
And I know you're mentioning the films and such as that. I mean, Saul Goodman, he's been in numerous shows, numerous films. Why is Saul Goodman the better lawyer of the other 3?
You know, he was just so good. They had to make a show just for him. I think that just says enough right there. Like, I think he is just so important, and he was so reliable. He also worked super hard and passed the bar by himself. So he didn't even need any additional help in any way.
All right, and that's a little bit of a contentious point here because Elle Woods only went to law school because of chasing a guy. Why would Elle be a better choice than the rest of these folks?
You know, despite going to Harvard just for a guy, she ended up being the valedictorian in law school. That is just something unheard of. She went from fashion school to law school valedictorian, and I think that arc of her character is just unspeakable. You know, that is who I want to represent me. And she was winning cases even before graduating. I think that's also a key point to say. And also, speaking on Saul, who has his spin-off series, Elle Woods also has a second movie, Legally Blonde 2. She has 2 films. She is such an important character that she had to have 2 movies just to herself.
I think if we're going to talk about character arc, though, we got to talk about Vincent Gambini. He starts this movie off only working these small cases, little things in town, and he brings himself into court to help out his cousin, and he doesn't really know what's going on. He really struggles throughout the movie. He has to change his clothes. He ends up in court a few times, in jail actually during court, because he wore the wrong thing or he said the wrong thing. But throughout the movie, he learns so much about the system and how to properly get his people so that they aren't going to jail because they didn't commit the crime. So he works hard and he figures everything out throughout the movie. And from the beginning to the end, it was just such a difference.
I mean, I didn't even know who Vincent Gambino was before this debate. I don't know about all y'all, but everybody knows Elle Woods. Nobody cares about Vincent Gambino.
Well, for me, Anthony, I would say in terms of talking about people who have had a storied history, Atticus Finch, he didn't even go to jail, unlike the 2 people on the end of the desk. He's somebody that had come and worked from the ground up, having a troubled past from himself in the Deep South. He's raising 2 children by himself on his own. I mean, Goodman's never done that. Goodman's never worked a day in his life.
Great points, Parker, but we're going to have to take a quick break. Court is going to go into a brief recess. When we come back, more discussion about these great lawyers.
this a legal matter?
Yes, and it's important to me.
What do you need?
Burr, you're a better lawyer than me.
Okay.
I know I talk too much.
Here's dessert, ladies. Ooh. Ooh, there's only 3. These look good. Oh, you didn't get one. Here. I have both.
Sharing, it's the icing on the cake. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
After the war, I went back to New York.
After the war, I went back to New York.
I finished up my studies and I practiced law.
Welcome back to Master Debating, where the jury is still out on if the FCC should pull our funding. When we last left off, these 4 debaters were at the desk. We're discussing the best fictional lawyer, looking at Elle Woods, Saul Goodman, Atticus Finch, and Vinnie Gambini. And I need to ask, because we're talking about best fictional lawyer of all time, this is a question open to the floor here. What makes these better than some that we didn't mention, such as Harvey Specter, Harvey Birdman, Ace Attorney, those sorts of people?
Well, Harvey Specter might not have even been the best attorney in his own firm, Anthony. You have the Mike Rosses and the Lewis Litts, but we won't even get into that because Atticus Finch did something braver than nearly the rest of this group here, and he represented an underrepresented voice in the Deep South before the Civil Rights Act was firmly established, and that was a heavy risk in terms of his career. When you talk about the way that social standing was in Alabama in 1945, around that time period. So taking a brave approach to getting in front and doing something that Saul Goodman's representing criminals, petty crimes in terms of Elle Woods and in terms of Vinnie Gambini, just the bravest act in doing it, again, representing his own family and putting his life against the line.
You know, I understand that, but Vinnie Gambini also was representing people who didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong, and they were accused of murdering the clerk at the store. And he went in there, and he was a little confused, but he used his resources. He was
Little
scrappy.
confused, important point to bring up.
Yeah, but he was scrappy, and he got through it fully, and he made sure he got all the papers that he needed to get the information about the case, and he talked to all the people, and he went and he spoke with all of the witnesses, and he figured out all these little things of why it wasn't them. And he had his girlfriend there, his wife there, that kind of helped him out through that process to get him through it.
Well, good for Gambini for doing the bare minimum. I mean, I would expect any good and decent lawyer to be able to approach that. I think he carried his case on the back of his significant other. I mean, the defense was wrong. I don't think that Vinnie Gambini could have come up with that by himself. He did the bare minimum. Atticus Finch does all the work by himself.
I mean, we talk about the families here, and Emma, daughter of Delta Nu, Elle Woods, is just someone who used family to succeed in court. How does she use her resources to be better than the rest of these folks?
You know, I'm not gonna shame her for being a nepotism baby. That's not my place. She climbed the ranks at Harvard all on her own. She wasn't receiving help from anyone. She had to lock in that library like everybody else, and she did it while wearing Chanel and Prada and all that designer drip. You know, she just deserves that spot as best fictional lawyer, and most fashionable at that. Because is Atticus Finch wearing that? I don't think so.
Most certainly. The nice
I don't think so.
Pressed up Windsor knot, working down there in Alabama when he doesn't have too much dollars to his name. Lifestyles of the rich and famous over here. I'm sorry, I thought lawyer was about respecting the institution and respecting the court. Vinnie Gambini shows up in court dressed in something from the costume store. Saul Goodman shows up dressed in flamboyant colors and makes a fool out of himself walking in there with the comb over. Atticus Finch is the most pressed and most distinct, succinct, respectable individual out of these 4 chumps.
Saul Goodman did not make a fool out of himself. He was actually being very fashionable and very eccentric, which actually makes him look like the better lawyer because he looks more professional. He looks more just exciting. Like, you would want someone dressed in like an exciting outfit defending you, because then that means that they care about how they look and they care about making you not guilty, basically.
Saul Goodman practices law out of a strip mall. I mean, I'm sick to my stomach. He won't even practice with his own real name, James Morgan McGill. He's not even a real lawyer. He went to an online school, University of American Samoa. I never even heard of that.
All right, I'm going to have to cut you off there, Parker. It was a great debate so far, but that will do it for tonight's episode of Master Debating. The court has been adjourned. Coming up next week, we discuss who should win the custody battle for 11-year-old Elliot Johans between his alleged father, Pete, and the FedEx guy. Have a good night.